Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have a review of the Robot Damashii Gundam GP01 Full Burn Ver Anime. Now these were one of those figures I really wanted to get because I absolutely love the Gundam GP01 Ver Anime figure, so obviously I really wanted to get the full burn version. But once again, at the time I failed to pre-order this because once again there are other hungry people out there who got their pre-orders faster than me, and there were no more left for me. But recently there was a Gundam Expo in Korea, or a Bandai Expo in Korea, and they were selling the GP01 FB or Full Burn Ver Anime and the GP03 as well. So I basically grabbed those as well, and now I'm very satisfied with that. Alright, so before we get into the review, I just wanted to mention I am actually testing a few more stuff. So for those who don't know, recently after moving to my new house, I am very dissatisfied with my videos recently, because mostly for the sound issues, because there were some echoes in my house, so I had to change into a new mic and such, and that still didn't really fix the issue. So what I'm doing is a few more tests. So today I'm actually, to reduce the amount of echo, I actually closed all the doors at my house. Because for the past few weeks I've been recording with all the doors open, and that might be another aspect that made the echoes. So I actually closed all the doors. Hopefully that reduces the things. Number two is the lighting. So at the moment, what you see right now, there are 4 lights operating at the moment. There's one on the left, there's one on the right, there's one on the top, and then there's one in the front of the figure. So there are 4 lights. But keep in mind, before that I was operating mostly with 3 lights, left, right, and in the front. And on my camera at the moment, the screen shows it very bright, but when I actually upload the pictures or videos on YouTube or on Facebook, it always kind of seems a little bit dark, and I really don't know why. I have not touched any settings on my camera, and yet that is the issue. But hopefully this fixes the issue. Anyway, now let's get on to the review. So once again, because this is a Robot Damashii figure, there's obviously going to be a lot of small stuff, like extra parts, like when it comes to effect parts, and then there's the small detail parts. So I'm just going to go through them as fast as possible. So once again, for today's reference, I also did bring out the GP01 for the anime figure. I actually brought that from my parents' house. So before we go on to the comparison, let's see what you get. So number one, let's go over the effect parts, because they always give you a good amount of effect parts for certain units. So let's go over the basic one. So number one, we get we get a bent beam saber effect part. This is actually one of my favorite beam saber effect part style. So not only is it curved, but we do get the regular curved designs on certain figures as well. But once again, they actually added more detail into this. So you can see these sharp points going on here. So to give out that beam effect. So they did a really good job instead of going with the smooth version. So here we have the regular size beam saber effect parts. Now keep in mind, these effect parts can be used as a firing effect part for the beam rifle. So we get a regular size one, and here we have a bit more longer and a little bit more thicker one. So this you can use it as both as a beam saber and a rifle effect part, as far as I remember. Alright, and then we get some interesting parts. So we get this part. So for those who don't know, this is actually a beam effect part for not firing, but for those who don't know, the GP01 had a specific rifle where it could actually generate a small beam effect part on the bottom right over here. So what you're supposed to do is that you're technically supposed to take this part off, but I remember that you could technically just attach this with everything on here, and you can do this. So this is actually used in the anime a lot. So yeah, this is actually a pretty cool effect part. And obviously we do get the beam rifle. This is the same beam rifle that we've seen from the GP01, regular GP01 as well. So no changes here, and you can take off the beam ammo clip. So yeah. Alright, and then here we have this effect part. This was also included in the GP01 Ver anime figure as well. This is a effect part used when 2 beam sabers are colliding with each other. That they added this to recreate a certain theme with the GP02. But yeah, keep in mind, when you first get this piece, there is going to be a plastic piece in the middle, so you have to take that out as well. So what you're supposed to do is technically you can attach the beam sabers while this is together, but if you're having trouble, you can always follow these lines and make sure they cross each other at the same time. So it's a really cool effect part. If you want to see more detail about that, you can check my GP01 for anime review as well. Alright, now we have a ton of thruster effect parts. Now some of these are thruster effect parts. Some of them can be used a little bit differently at the same time, and some of them you have to be very careful. So number one, the non-thruster parts. So here we have these two pink effect parts. So these could be used for firing effect parts for the these two can be used for firing effect parts for the beam rifle. This one you can actually use it on the beam saber as well to make it look like the output is much more powerful. So yeah, we'll be showing demonstrations of that later. And here we have a ton of thruster effect parts. So number one, we get these ones, but you can see there's an end tip here. So these ones you're gonna have to connect it with these ones as well. So there is going to be a peg over inside there, or there's a peg here, and then there's a hole there. So you can connect these two to give it a more powerful thrust effect part. Now do be careful with these pegs because these pegs are easy to snap off. So you get two of those as well. And then we get these clear versions as well. So these clear versions, the way how you're supposed to use that, they give you these small plastic joints here. So what you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to plug these in here and then connect any other effect part that you want to connect to the bottom and then connect it to the place you want to do so. Now just be careful is that once you plug these things in, they're kind of hard to get out. So yeah, I kind of messed up mine for the Gerbera Tetra. So they give you two different types of joints. So there's 4 joints, but there's 2 types. So one is that there is a straight, this one has a straight peg here. This one actually has a bent peg. So make sure you choose which one you want to use for. And then you get one of these effect parts. Once again, these are thruster effect parts. These are the typical ones that we usually see, but these are also having the bent joint, so be aware of that. And here we have another beam effect part. So this is like if you don't want to use the beam saber effect part, you can use this where it's about to fire, or it's like right before the beam is leaving the barrel kind of effect part. All right, so yeah, a lot of stuff. Once again, here we have another shield going on here. This is the exact same shield like the GP01 for anime. We can still fold it up, fold out, and then you can store the extra 2 clips here onto the shield as well. So that's pretty good. And then we get I'm going to be very careful with this one. We get a spare V-fin and a spare antenna. Now the antenna might be tricky to attach, but they do give you 2. So make sure 2 antennas. So make sure you do it properly. And if you kind of break it or lose them, you still have a spare. So that is very good. All right, and then here we have a bunch of hands here. So let's see what we got. So currently at the moment, the figure, I'm still using the hand that came with the figure on the box. So that I'm just going to call that the multi-purpose hand. Here we have a semi-open hand, fully open hand. Here we have a trigger finger, and here we have a beam saber holding hand. Now the multi-purpose hand can hold the beam saber, but if you want to hold the beam saber in a bit of an angle, these are the hands you use. You can see the inside there is like a groove there that's in an angle. So yeah, just be sure that you're using the right hands. Alright, other than that, here we have some other small parts. So here we have the shield connector to the arm. So if you want to connect the shield to the arm, you can do that. And so basically, if you don't want to use the handle of the shield, this is what you use. And then here we have this. This is for men. If you want to hold, if you basically want to hold the beam rifle onto the back skirt, this is what you use, a storing unit. And then here we have some more small detailed parts. So compared to the GP01 variants, the full burn variant has more thrusters. So he can actually open up his chest area and reveal his vent area on the chest, and then reveal more thruster parts. So, and you can actually, according to the manual, you can actually attach thruster effect parts onto this as well. So that's pretty cool. And then for those who don't know, there's also more thruster effect parts on the shoulder area. So once again, these are parts for that as well. And finally, this part, I have zero clue what this is used for. This is not my first time seeing this, but they basically just tell you that, oh, you can like attach this to a certain thruster effect part like this, but that's all it mentions in the manual. It doesn't show like what you can do, because I can't read Japanese, but yeah, that's all they show in the manual. So if you know what that is, do let me know. Oops, sorry about that. The mic hit something. Yeah, because of my light setup and my camera setup, the mic is a little bit high at the moment, and it sometimes collides with the bookshelf I have. Alright, so let's do a quick comparison. You can see there is a huge height difference between the 2 units as well, because obviously the GP01, okay, technical wise, the GP01 can operate both in ground and space, but before whatever environment you're going to be using it, you have to basically change a few settings on the unit, basically change a few parts and certain things like that. But once again, in the anime, the main character who was piloting this was a little bit one of those impatient type characters, so he just went off and basically got himself almost killed and almost got the GP01 destroyed. Well, it did get wrecked. So on the process, they decide to, you know, repair this and make it into the GP01 full burn now, so that can be operated more properly in space. But because of this variant, the GP04 has never became a thing in the anime as well. Of course, any remains of that unit has now become the Gerbera Tetra, which we do have as a robot Damashii. So yeah, because now there is a height difference, because that's mostly because obviously the legs has become much more different and the feet have become much more larger. For those who've tried the mass grade, you should know how these feet actually, you know, work. Is that you have the original feet and then you attach these more larger feet onto the bottom section. So it's like basically you're wearing shoes, but you're wearing another larger shoe on top of that. So that's kind of like the best way I can explain it. So which is why the height becomes a little bit more higher as well. So for those who do like more, you know, bigger size figures, this might be a thing for you as well. Other than that, you can see the chest area, you can see the more similarities, but of course there are some color changes like from the cockpit as well as, and then a few more detailed changes here and there, but you can see the similarities at this point as well. Now keep in mind, these figures do not mention any of their scale. Now generally they're mostly 1:144. If you compare to it with Gunpla, they are kind of similar with the 1:144 scales, but that's not really indicated on the figure itself. So these are usually non-scale. Now, if you get like the F91, for example, that is definitely another clue, or gives it a more, you know, a better, you know, idea on the non-scale aspect. All right, so let's see what we got in terms of articulation here. So we're gonna go with articulation pretty quick, and then we'll go on to the demonstrations. So let's see what we got. Okay, so hopefully this doesn't show too dark. On my camera, everything looks pretty bright. So hopefully, I don't know, I hope it's not YouTube or my video settings or anything that doesn't mess this up. All right, keep in mind, when you first get these figures, certain parts will be detached from the main unit. For example, while the V-fin is attached, this top antenna will be separated. So you're gonna have to attach those. The beam saber hilts are also detached, so you're gonna have to reattach those as well once you get this guy out of the box. Alright, for the head, definitely loving the details going on here, or the overall design, the anime look going on. And then I do like the fact that they color the cameras in light metallic green going on here. So the head can go actually down a lot, and you can kind of extend the neck joint like that. So you do get a nice bend like that. And then going 360, I would say, let's see. I'm trying to force it, but this is as far as I go. But then again, 360 is not really necessary. There's a reason why there is a back head camera, so that kind of makes sense. Going upwards, I say that's a pretty decent angle if you ask me. And I'm being really careful not to break the antenna. When I mean by antenna, I'm not talking about the V-fin, I'm talking about one that's on top here. Alright, so let me zoom out a little bit. Now let's get the main body first. So the main body, you do get a nice ab crunch going on here. You can see there is like an extended going on here. And then side to side, not so much. 360, once again, there are certain parts blocking the way. So 360, I wouldn't say it's possible. Once again, when you consider that the inside there is originally a core fighter inside there, makes sense. Because anything that has a core fighter inside, the main body articulation is going to be limited to some degree. Alright, now looking at the backpack, the manual does mention that you can lift up the backpack like that as well. And then each thruster can move like that. They are on like a semi-ball joint going on here, so you can kind of reposition them if you want to do so. And the beam saber hilt effect parts, once again, compared to the GP01 anime, this one actually had some movement going on here. You can move them downward like that, or kind of move forward and backward like that. That's not a thing here as far as I understood the figure, so don't force it. You don't want to break anything there. And then you can just pull out the beam saber hilt. Once again, this one, ooh boy, that was close. Okay, so I did pull out, but luckily nothing broke. So what happened here is that there is a peg here that holds the beam saber hilt. So what's supposed to happen is that only this part is supposed to come out. So luckily nothing broke, but just be careful. It is on the stiff side. So yeah. And then these thruster parts, now these parts may look a little bit bulky, but they actually have a good range of movement. So they can move like this, so backwards as well. And then you can also rotate this and change its position. So which is why you should be able to also rotate the thruster itself. And then no, actually you're supposed to, so yeah, you can also just rotate this guy only, and then if you want to do so, you can do that certain thing where he does when he's trying to pull backwards. So this thing does generate a lot of thrust, which does also affect the pilot, but once again, you can pretty much position this guy, the back thrusters, in any direction you want to do so. Of course, it does take some time to get used to the way how this works, but yeah, the articulation is there, so you can really move this thing around. All right, now let's get the shoulders. I always thought the 01 was still on here, but apparently it's not. So once again, but of course you got stickers and decals, water slides to cover that if you want to do so. Anyway, so the shoulders, once again, this is one of those shoulders where it's not attached to the actual arm. It's actually moving on its own. So that means like if you pull this arm out, and then the shoulder is also on a separate piece here. So once again, you can see it's a little bit wobbly, but there's a reason for that. And this is the part where you can actually pull out and then reattach the more thruster effect parts as well. This is the part you take out and then replace it with the thrusters popped out version. And then going with the arm, there we go. So that is a good example what I wanted to show. So you can see the shoulder is a separate piece here. There we go. So going 360 is possible even with the shoulder. Just be careful not to collide, or make sure you don't give it too much stress. And then just to show you guys, this is the way how the arm works. It is on the ball joint, so and you can go 360 on the arm itself. And then the bend is pretty much the same as the original GP01. You get a nice bend going on here. Hands are your Robot Damashii style hands, where the ball joint is on the arm, and then the hand has the hole. So yeah. And just to give you guys an idea, I believe the shoulder flaps do move here as well. Nothing too special there. And I believe that when it came to the master grade area, there was something that you could do with this area, but once again, I don't think that's a big deal here. Now the front skirts, and obviously our new designs here. The back skirt tends to get inwards here to the point where it kind of blocks the leg articulation, but no big deal. And then we have the side skirt that can move. Front skirts can also move. You can see there is a hinge system which affects both legs, as far as I understood that. And then you do get while this is a ball joint here, ball joint connection, there is a little bit of a side swivel going on here, but it's a very stiff connection, and because of the design here, it's pretty much locking into place. So, but once again, it's not the end of the world. So yeah. And then obviously you can go forward a lot, and then backwards a lot as well. And then bend wise, very nice bend going on here. Despite how bulky the legs look, you can still get a decent amount of movement going on here. And once again, we have these flaps on the feet here. You can move it forward and backward, no big deal. And then you have these giant feet. Now, once again, I do prefer large feet as long as they can hold themselves properly, because there are certain kids where they have giant feet and still can't stand on their own. Yeah, you might, for those who've been watching my channel for a long time, you might know what I mean. But still, yeah, the feet can go forward and backwards, and then despite the giant design, you do get I'm not sure if this is counted as a toe bend at this point, but you can bend the front part of the feet downwards as well. And then obviously you get a decent pivot joint as well. So yeah. If there's anything I haven't showed, is that there on the back skirt here, or back area, you can flip this part up. And if you want to store the beam rifle there, you use that specific part and attach it here, and then connect the whole thing right here to store the beam rifle onto the back skirt. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the figure. Once again, a little bit much taller than compared to the original GP01, regular GP01, and I do like the extra parts going on here, and it comes with a ton of effect parts compared to the original. So there are some good stuff going on here. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the figure. I'll be right back with some demonstrations. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the first demonstration going on here was the beam rifle. So number one, I attached a few thruster effect parts onto the backpack or back thrusters and onto the feet, and then I attached the beam rifle onto the right hand, and then gave it the semi-open hand onto the left hand, so it looks like it's doing the double hand pose going on here. And here is the effect part I was talking about. This is the one that you use if you want to go with a more right before it's firing effect part. So I think this works very well. I really like the design here going on here, and yeah, overall. And then the action-based connector works very smoothly, or the way how the action-based port works, which is all around the crotch area, the bottom of the crotch area. So yeah, everything's going on here, and make sure you don't collide with the beam sabers too often, because they don't have any articulation going on here, especially on the bottom hilts. Anyway, so yeah, I really like the way how this turned out. And yeah, of course, in this pose I wasn't able to really attach the thrusters on the chest because they did get in the way, but I was able to attach the thruster parts onto the shoulder area right over here. So that's that. So the feet ones are the regular thruster effect parts that we see every time we buy a Ver Anime figure. Now the ones on the backpack thrusters here is that the way how this works is that you have to attach this part here, this to the clear piece version, and on the clear piece version you have to attach those pegs I was talking about, and then attach it to here. Now if you want to go more radical here from here, now this won't really fit here, so you're gonna have to find a different way here, but after this you can attach this to give it a more radical effect part going on here. So according to the manual, this one goes on to the thrusters that is actually under the backpack as well. So this is how that works. Now my only worry is that I have zero clue on how to take these pegs out, because yeah, I'm kind of not too sure and I don't want to make the same mistakes, but yeah. Alright, so we've seen the first demonstration here. I think I'll be right back with the second demonstration as well. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the second demonstration going on here. So I did change the firing effect part with an actual long, one of the long firing effect shots. So just wanted to point out that if you're using this, you can use either the long one or the short one. But if you're going to use this one, this is mostly, you know, mentioned differently depending on the figure, but you can technically use this on the beam rifle and the beam saber. But if you're using this won't work on the small one. Just wanted to point that out. So once again, the fire effect part works very well. I'm just gonna take this off because it's keep poking my camera. So yeah, I really like the way how it works. The shield connector works perfectly as well. Now the connecting ball joint is a little bit on the stiff side, so do be careful about that. And then here we have all the thruster effect parts attached here. So here we have the radical effect parts going on here. And I've been reading the manual image differently, so I figured out how to take those pegs out. So number one, obviously you have to take this part out and then take the white part out. And this, of course, I'm not going to say this is ideal, but the manual, I wasn't able to understood that, but I was looking at the other way around. So this is basically a pusher, so you push this part out so the peg can come out as well. Now, not ideal because obviously this peg looks like it can break off at the same time. So yeah, but that's the way how you're supposed to do it. So once again, if anybody mentioned this on the comments before on the different figures, sorry for not being able to read that, because once again, my schedule is sometimes hectic. Alright, so I think there's only one thing left to show since we're done with the beam rifle effect parts and the thruster effect parts, and we'll end it off that last demonstration, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the final demonstration going on here. I was able to store the beam rifle onto the back skirt, and then I was able to change the chest vents with the ones with the thruster versions. And just to give you guys an idea, you are able to attach like thruster effect parts onto the thrusters that are on the chest area as well. And here we have the beam saber clashing effect part. So this is not the ideal pose, but I just wanted to just show you guys how this effect part actually generally works going on here. So you are able to, once you have the plastic piece out and once you have connected these two pieces part together, once again there are going to be two holes or two slots going on here, so you can put in the two beam saber effect parts into like a cross shape or an X shape going on here, and this is how the effect part works. So once again, you're gonna have to do some planning, or you're gonna have to do some experimenting onto finding out the ideal pose going on here, but this is how it generally works. And that is pretty much it for the review. So this was the review of the Robot Damashii Gundam GP01 full burn version. So once again, if you did enjoy the regular GP01 figure, I think you are going to still enjoy the GP01 full burn figure at the same time, because it does come with more effect parts, a few more stuff going on here, and if you really enjoy the anime, you're definitely going to try out a few things that you've seen in the anime as well. Of course, you might need the GP02, but still, it's a great figure, very fun figure as well. Anyway, thanks for watching the review. This was the review of the Robot Damashii Gundam GP01 full burn. If you guys got any questions or requests, you can comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews of, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.